everybody. Welcome to this episode of Lunch with Alumni. We felt it was really important, just given the current events, to touch base with some alumni who are knowledgeable and understand what's going on in the Ukraine, and just kind of inform us about different ways that we can help and learn more. So I'm excited to bring you guys Nick Prys and Kateryna Gudziak. They both graduated from Country Day in 2010. And we're really grateful that they were able to jump on with us this morning at short notice to chat with us about what's going on. So guys, thanks for coming. And if you both want to just quickly introduce yourselves, I think we'd love to hear.
Hey everyone, my name is Katya. I'm currently living in Boston, working at BCG, and I'm very honored and very grateful for Country Day for hosting a platform like this. This is a topic that's super near and dear to my heart and occupying all my mental space right now.
Yeah, I just want to echo what Katya had to say. Hi, everyone. My name is Nick Prys. I'm Ukrainian. I attended Detroit Country Day for high school. I was a member of the men's varsity soccer team there, graduated in 2010. I went on to play soccer at Duke University for 4 years. And I'm currently a second-year law student at the University of Detroit Mercy School of Law. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who's listening and is helping out in any way they can.
Awesome. Okay, thanks to both of you. All right, so let's just take it from the top here, because I think there's just so much going on in the news, depending on where you have decided to kind of tune into the situation. So if one or both of you could give us a very brief overview on what is going on in Eastern Europe right now, I think that would be really helpful just to set the stage for our conversation.
I'm happy to take that one. So I want to first clarify, and this is, I think, a very important point to understand, is this war has been going on since 2014. Over 13,000 Ukrainians have already died since 2013. So the deaths that you're seeing on the screens today, that's in the last week. This war has been going on for 8 years. We can go all the way back in history, but I think there are a couple main points to understand. When the Soviet Union fell apart in 1991, Ukraine's decision to leave the Soviet Union was probably the most critical moment in the collapse of the entire organization. Russia identified most closely with Ukraine. Ukraine was the second biggest economy. When Ukraine left, the Soviet Union fell apart, and in a big way, the Russian Empire completely collapsed. And that is what Putin is trying to rebuild. And as you can see in the last, year, 6 months, he has been twisting history and trying to rewrite it. He wrote a 5,000-word article last July about sort of the historical unity of Ukrainian and Russian people, just really twisting history. When he declared war on Ukraine in February, he stated that the current Ukraine was created by communist Russia. And you can see one man's ego and fear of the democratic evolution of Ukraine driving this entire war. And really the most pivotal moment was in 2014. There was what is called the Revolution of Dignity, where millions of Ukrainians stood up, took to the streets in peaceful protest against the standing president's decision to not sign a political and economic agreement with the European Union. That is what the majority of Ukrainians wanted. And that is the direction Ukraine had been moving for the last, 20 years up to that moment. And he opted to sign an agreement that was very similar to side with Russia. When the Ukrainian people took to the streets, in that moment, Putin realized the power of Ukrainian civil society and their drive toward democracy. And that is an immediate direct threat to the dictatorship that Putin is creating. So you see this man trying to construct a dictatorship, and you see the closest neighbor, 45 million people who Russians can most closely identify with, who had a similar Soviet background, now flourishing. Democracy is flourishing, business is flourishing, culture is flourishing. And he says, if they stand up, Russians will be inspired to do the same. That is why he has also been so strong in supporting Lukashenko in Belarus. And so in 2014, he sends in armed thugs into Kyiv, into Crimea, into the Donbass region to stir up violence. And that is really the beginning of this whole war, and why we are where we are today. So I think it's really important to understand that this is not sudden by any means.
Okay, Nick, anything to add?
That was extremely well put, and it touches on all of the key issues as to where we're at right now. I can speak to more of a personal perspective, but my father's wife that he is married to right now, she's from Donetsk, and she had to leave in 2014 because of everything that Katya is talking about. So it is very real. It's been going on for 8 years. And it really has culminated into the situation that we're in right now.
Okay. And I think that's really helpful, of course, to understand, which is that this really has been going on for quite some time. And the history and everything that has gone on is contributing to what's happening now. So I think that's very helpful for students and alumni to kind of put that into perspective. So thank you. Next, I'm curious, both of you are Ukrainian. What are you hearing from your family and friends who are currently located in Ukraine or in other places in Eastern Europe or Europe?
I can share a little bit about what I'm hearing. So I have family that is from northeastern Ukraine, which is Chernihiv, and Chernihiv has almost entirely been blown apart by Russian bombing. My family there are in bunkers right now. They've been in bunkers for the past several days. I also am in contact with my first cousin on my father's side. He was living in Kyiv last week. He's a computer engineer. I stay in touch with him every day via text and video chat on Viber. And he tries to reassure me that everything is okay, but I can hear bombs going off in the background. I can see the clear worry on his face. He tells me right now that his plan is to get his wife and their 3 young children to the Polish border. And then he's thinking of returning to Kyiv to join regional defense forces there. And this, keep in mind, this is a man who has never held a gun in his life. He's a computer engineer who was working and living in Kyiv before his life was turned completely upside down. And so he's told me that he's established, certain checkpoints to get from Kyiv to the Polish border. But I really can't even imagine the amount of stress that he's experiencing at this very moment. So that's what I can share from my own family's personal perspective.
Right. Nick, do you know if any of his friends have decided to leave or have been part of the exit out of Ukraine?
So almost all of his friends have taken their family to the borders, but they've returned. They're women and children, but they've returned to regional forces in Kyiv and other regions in Ukraine.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Katya, what do you think?
Yeah, I spoke with my family this morning on my mom's side. Fortunately, all my family is in more the western portion of Ukraine, so the direct violence hasn't hit there yet. But speaking with a 55-year-old man, and in the first moments, you just see this man break down into tears. I mean, the stress that these people are living under, and they are not even the ones that are in basements and bomb shelters for the last week. I call him, he's sitting in his kitchen, cutting up camouflage fabric to make mesh screens to hide military equipment. This war is not the way a war is fought in the US. Like, we donate money through taxes to the US military. Here you see just everybody is doing what they can. They're putting together Molotov cocktails. They're shipping supplies. They're building screens. It's just so impressive the way everybody is coming together, but under so much stress. I mean, they wake up, he basically goes to sleep every night, wondering, like, will we wake up tomorrow? And it truly is like a war of terror that Putin is creating. They are, paying people to put, these spray painted check marks in strategic locations as a signifier for where they may want to drop a bomb. And so civilians are running around trying to find these and rub them off or remove them from the snow. And they've seen a number of these around their village. And whether or not they mean to bomb there, you can just see the panic building despite the extraordinary resilience.
Wow. So I know, and it's okay if you guys don't know the answer to this. I think in the news, we've been hearing there's lots of money, from the US government, NATO, other European countries, sending over, defense devices and things like that, weapons. Are you hearing from any of your family, is this like a visible thing that's people see happening in Ukraine, that there is this help that's coming or has already gotten there?
I'm not sure about the military equipment.
Mhm.
I'm sure it's there. I have actually the friend I'm with now, his brother is in the US military, and I know that there are sort of informal, not in US uniform soldiers in Ukraine helping kind of
Okay.
direct and manage and strategize.
Mhm.
So I know that is happening. I know that humanitarian aid in terms of supplies is really starting to flow in right now.
Okay.
But I'm not sure, how
Right.
much the Ukrainian people see it, although I do think the support they see from people sharing information on social media and sort of the progress bar of campaigns moving more closer to the right is very reassuring.
Good. Okay. All right. So both of you have been very active on social media. And I would love for you to share resources, ideas. How can the DCDS community and all of us here in the US learn more and also contribute to any of the relief for the Ukrainian people?
I can share my personal handle. I think that may be helpful on Instagram. I do post a lot of resources there. So that is the ad symbol NICKSYRP. There's also a nonprofit organization that I personally recommend, and I know Katya will recommend some as well. But this nonprofit organization is called Razom, which translates to together in Ukrainian. So I think that's a good starting point there. And then Katya certainly has others that she can share.
Sorry, Katya, before you go on, Nick, can you just tell us a little bit about that organization? Where is it based? What do they do specifically?
So they're based in New York City. They're a 501c3 organization. They're reliable, and they are able to send humanitarian relief directly to the front lines in Ukraine. So if I were to sum it up, that's exactly the way I would describe it. They're really, I think, the future of the Ukrainian independence movement here in the United States.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think it's worth noting, Razom is a really interesting organization that actually began in 2014 during that Revolution of Dignity. And Ukraine has one of the largest diaspora communities of any culture. There are over 12 million Ukrainians living outside of the country. And so Razom actually means together, and it's the coming together of the Ukrainian diaspora and the Ukrainians currently living in Ukraine, which I think, from my personal experience growing up in the community, is something that has been a long time coming, and it is really, really important. So it's an amazing organization to support.
Okay, awesome. Are there any journalists or news sites that you guys recommend, for students or anyone interested in getting really high quality reporting on this topic?
I think it may be easiest if we share a list of handles and websites. I think, following the main news channels is great. There are a couple of independent Ukrainian news channels and lots of journalists that can also be followed. So I think we can share that maybe in the body of the email.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Okay, guys, thanks to both of you, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you so much, Annie.